Yeah, hi, I'm Sindhu. Great to meet you all. Thanks, all of you, for being here to listen.
Yeah, it's a nice Monday evening. What we wanted to do today is just share some of our work, what we've been doing. Sindhu and we run a small studio called Tacit. We are based out of Bangalore, in Jayanagar. We have content designers, product, game, and a couple of interns. It's a small studio, and we've been working on different types of projects from symbol. We called it branding, but it became symbol, and then some digital and some spaces. So we thought we would just share some work today, and mostly it's just showing off work. There's not much to talk in a sense. And then I was like more than happy to get feedback, a discussion around some ideas. We are hoping to get more of that from the forum here, right? So let me start by sharing my screen. Can I share my screen here? Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Now it should be full screen. So yeah, we won't know it looks like a one-way thing because I won't be able to see any of you. So please do respond and stop me in the middle anytime. And just ping me in the middle so that if something goes wrong, yeah, looks like a blank thing for us from this side. Yeah, so we call the studio Tacit. Got inspired from the book Tacit Dimension by Michael Poliani, and so it's mostly about knowledge, anything which is coming out of a lot of experience and how we observe, and that's what we've been we've learned over a period of time, and we are all trying to put together in this complex world. So we wanted to spend some time. It's been a contemplation, as you know, for like everybody else. It's lots of years of practice, and at a certain point in practice, it's nice to share and to talk about something which we are focusing on now. How to look into design, as designing is something less. It's a kind of an interesting continuation of what Unmesh was talking last time. His last slide was talking about design less and something like that, and then we figured out it makes sense, and we've been doing that, and we thought, okay, let me continue with what Unmesh was talking last week. And we also were very interested in making things alive. What does it really mean? And we've been striving to do that, right? So we just wanted to share that. So yeah, we are all kind of worried about the context, and though we focus a lot on concepts like making a shape or a design or a tool or a digital intervention, whatever we do, the context is becoming more and more complex, right? As designers, we are expected to heal all these hacks done by so many people. Usually we get projects when a new technology is made, and then we kind of spend time kind of making it a little more humanized, making all the flows or products, and we try to help them flower. So what does it really mean is to first make the hack a little more smoother, and then make it a little joyful to use and stuff like that, right? But the world is becoming denser and denser. So that's how we see it, right? And there are a heap of hacks happening all the time. So we were just trying to put this, and we remembered some movies which actually depicted the spirit of the time, right? You must have all seen these movies. When you see Gods Must Be Crazy, you all remember how that movie showed the tribes in Africa and how they were inventing with all the small Coca-Cola bottle. He made a musical instrument out of it, and that's a sort of a hack in a sense, right? Like so this kind of quality kept on changing. You could see movies like Apocalypto, where we all remember these huge pyramids being built, and suddenly the tribes were taken, and then the so-called civilized world started clashing with the the forest dwellers, and you can see the settlers dominating the world. Then the settlers got organized, and I cannot, I have like this movie influenced me a lot, Shatranj Ki Khiladi, where two zamindars kept playing chess where the wars were happening behind the scenes, right? And it was so funny to see it because that kind of wars and that kind of situation kept happening for almost 2000 years, right? I remember, when we looked at our historical wars, some of the wars are so funny, right? Like there are like some 8,000, 9,000 people coming in, and then they, after 4 days, they go away back to their houses, and the villages would still, work. So the kind of quality of life, the idea of threatening, the idea of territory, all of this sort of comes in. Nothing can really, depict modern times the way the movie Modern Times of Chaplin really does. He basically goes inside the machine, and then he makes an exaggeration of the whole system, right? And starts showing another kind of divide. It's no more a divide of dynasties and people and zamindars, but it's more to do with people who are professional, who are coming to work in factories, right? And very recently, I was very overwhelmed by the idea of that. Today we have around 4.6 billion active Truman shows happening parallelly, right?
Internet.
Amazing, meaning internet. So we never know which is the end of that. It's so big, it's so large. We are all sitting in front of computer watching. It's all connected, and it's sort of, are we kind of, and with the kind of persuasive technologies, are we really seeing what we are supposed to see, or are we being shown what can be shown using these digital technologies? And I'm quite a skeptic there, and I've been in the digital world for some time, and it's interesting to see how these Truman shows are happening everywhere. It happens with my kids, it happens with my mother, my father. They all believe in some news, and some kinds of conversations are happening, stuff like that, right, all the time. We all know what's happening, and we are hoping to see more avatars in future, right? So currently, the quality of life is challenged quite differently, and the more it gets intrusive, the more they evolve, and more it gets woven into the fabric of mind, body, and life itself. Somehow, the net outcome of this is an experience. It's no more just a form. It's no more just some sort of a shape or color, though it is, but it is not. Now, even the saris have a digital experience. Like, I buy a sari, they come in a package, then it's been bought by Amazon, and he will irritate me, like he was supposed to give me tomorrow, but by the time, like, it's all so, the experience is something so fragmented today, right? And it's very normal. We are all experiencing it. So will it converge? Will this bond between hacks, humans, and planet are ever converging? Are they converging as they evolve, or will they become any closer to the form of life? Something which we like to see in how it works. But as a practice, when we saw all this, we just thought, okay, let's focus on,
all this tends to overwhelm, actually. So
yeah, so we thought, what is a very nice space for us to design, to kind of play and see what has come there, like So we looked at some keywords like which we always think about, like say less, inclusive, making something alive, being very sensitive to the matrix we are in right now, and the whole thing of being content. We were not at all content for quite some years, and we all know. But now we know it's being the second.
I think the age is also.
His age is also aging up. So we want to figure out what is the end. Where does being content start in design, right? Will it, when we see people WhatsApping that some product is nice, or they're enjoying over it, they send some snaps of how they're seeing some products, should we be content there, or should we do something else? So that keeps on happening. So we took refuge in smaller things. Though there were lots of larger stuff happening, connected systems and stuff like that, we took refuge in beauty, in the idea of elegance, in the idea of satisfaction, in the idea of stories that inspire us, and to really work on which connections are really meaningful, and which contexts are becoming acceptful or non-acceptful. We take a lot of refuge in humor, poetic inquiry, and all our biases. We have biases and we expose it to ourselves, and inclusive form, and reducing as much. So these are some of the things which keep us, work towards design, because I know that the world is filled with large problems and stuff like that, but this is something which keeps us going. So we do try to spend a lot of time on essentials and see how they flower. Like we have a process of, a lot of sensing which happens. We do not do a lot of analysis, analysis paralysis. We just bring in data which are directly, sensible. I mean, it gives us a sense of what it is like. Say, is it really a need? What kind of moments these are? What kind of material as the sensorial stuff it is? What systems can be sensed? What is the spirit of the market? What is the spirit of the whole, people who are involved in it, and things like that, right? So we just make markers out of these sensing. That's how we work. Then we do a lot of play. We love, whether you want to call it explorations or whatever, we spend a lot of time in trying to see something new coming out of whatever we do. We keep on making, failing, we keep on adjusting, varying, composing, changing stuff. Very first year exercises. We love it. We joined design because the first year exercises were pretty cool. And we love doing it, right?
Yeah, and also with the kind of projects we take, it was quite varied, and in the sense we took up everything that we thought was very interesting for us to respond to in what we have thought of.
Yeah, and then we had a huge load of reducing stuff. At our house only, we have taken an old house, 1960s reusable house. Wherever we do, we reuse from clothes to everything. Earlier it was like a kind of a movement, but now it's part of our life. Even the kids do it. We kind of use the garden to use the wet waste and make fertilizer. That's something which I think any person would like to do. It's an age where I think we should reduce a lot, kind of reconnect, repurpose and stuff like that. And we love spending time to connect and sort of unify them and see over a period of time. Our projects don't stop after we give design. We did some pads, we did some projects, and we keep watching them for 2 to 3 years to check for longevity, to see whether some cracks are there in the product, in the project, whether some new problems have come. We keep on fixing. It's like band-aiding and making sure. So we do not charge for that. In the sense, they keep on coming to us and we keep fixing it, right? And I think we like to critique. If there's a critique from everyone, kind of listen to everyone's, review it, judge it, question the systems, and outcomes. So we can visualize the outcomes even before we start the project. So in that process, when we critique, we also can reduce cost, we can reduce time, the process itself. So we ask some hard questions to clients like, do you really even want to do this project, right? So I don't think after 6 months, I don't think you'll have the shape solid enough for you to really, do what you want. I mean, do you really want to do that? And things like that. So many times they've gone back and they've come back after 1 year. So maybe that's when they were really ready and they do come back. Now Sindhu is going to walk you through some visual, identity projects and design projects, and I will continue with some products.
Yeah. So with having a background in visual communication and getting out, this is something that we started off actually with a lot of visual design work. Like Kiran mentioned, along with Less and Alive, we were also initially working with the idea of the essence and the essential. So just running you through the project, where we explored the identity for an architectural practice. So where we explore the symbol, the sound, and the meaning. So the client here was having an issue with people pronouncing it wrong as calm, and how do we get it? So this was to represent space, the ether. Then another for a farmer's market, again working on the idea of the essence and how do we work with the essential. we looked into the people, the activity, the livelihood, and then we tried to derive the form out of it. This was for a very local farmers market. So if there is somebody who knows Kannada, it reads as Sante. But for somebody who does not know, it is a lady carrying a basket and another selling. And how it would transform, how it would work with many other smaller farmers market of Madiwala, Jayanagara, whatever, that would continue as. This was for a French style patisserie. So we were looking at the finesse, the quality, and the memory that the founders had with the flour and what it would turn into.
Nimish, are you all able to hear us?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. All right.
We're also getting some good comments on your projects.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was Lilium. So there has been quite a bit of typographic exploration that we try to do with the local language and English because that was something that was very that interested me as a student. So that continues to various projects even till today. But here are some of them. Then for a music cognition lab at NIMHANS, this was the first India's first music cognition lab where they were working with testing, working with patients, making them hear Indian classical music. So our inspirations.
For us, it was also a cause. They were able to heal clinically from traumas using classical music. And it's a very well thriving lab in NIMHANS. So we love to associate.
India's only music cognition lab. So the kind of inspirations and forms that this is the lab. And our inspiration, because it was about Indian classical music and how we build the connections, the physical, what they see, and this was for a Kannada Bhavgit exploration, where it was a collection of poems and music from Dharwad, North Karnataka, and where we were exploring the idea of nature and the music and how we bring in that beauty into this, the beauty that is there inherent in the songs.
So here it reads Madhura Ragini.
Madhura Ragini.
So Dharwad is a place where it's the fringe of Malnad, where it rains beautifully and the forest starts, and a lot of parrots come and sing, and the poets love that weather and they write beautiful poetry. And
the nightingale, not the parrot.
Nightingale, and they actually is a collection of these poems from all the artists in that city. And,
this was a very local one, not the very famous ones, but then beautifully written poems. And at a point of time, while we were working with a lot of local content and context, we got together with a group, with a friend, and then we founded Puzzle Dish, where we were getting so exposed to the idea of Indian traditional paintings, and then how do we actually, we see them in the exhibitions, but then how do we even get into the nuances of it? And then one of the things we thought of out of that was jigsaw puzzles based on 3 Indian painting styles, the Patachitra, the Madhubani, and the Mysore Tanja style. So anybody working with the puzzles actually gets to see the nuances of the painting, and we've had a lot of beautiful stories with people with these puzzles. They finally find some content which they actually relate to and spend time. a means to tell stories from mythology.
Yeah, so this we started Tacitgames, adding games to the same collection of puzzles. During when the COVID started, we started getting more and more inquiries about puzzles. We didn't have any system to sell it online, so I just put up a quick website and then started making some new games. The games, as an idea, was we were inspired during IDC days. I was teaching in IDC with Atu sir, where he had started this wonderful elective on game design. And from then on, I kept on designing games at home, and all were prototypes. Around 80, 90 of them were all in the chajja, basically put onto the storage. We opened it up, and then we said, okay, let's productize them. Maybe people will play. And then we were kind of discovered we could simulate real world moments using games. And then we looked into what kinds of stories and narratives these games should really have, what kind of memories it should create. Then we looked into and we made the first board game called Hampi and the Sun Jewel. The idea here is to develop the landscape of Hampi. If you have traveled to Hampi, it's a beautiful place, tile by tile. And then we added a kind of a story where there is a seeker of a lost jewel, which is Sun Jewel, and somebody who has that jewel till the end of the game wins. Again, very much inspired by the landscape. The content has to come from these beautiful stuff which we see around.
Kiran, I think you'll need to present again.
Okay. Did we lose it?
Yeah, I think we lost something.
Yeah, your presentation was lost.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Should I start from here?
Yeah, just where you were. Yes.
Okay. All right. Oh, sorry. What is this? This is present. I see an icon which is very confusing there. Okay. Hampi has beautiful topography, which organic layouts of temples and markets. We recreated it in the form of hexagonal tiles. So it starts with 3 tiles and you keep adding, and then you start gathering support of people like the elderly women in the village, or a merchant or a priest or a local lady or a miner or a farmer. So they will start helping you to get points as you start closing on different parts of the farm and the ponds, the way you start developing it. Each time it creates a new kind of Hampi, and you win when you actually have the Sun Jewel. So this is how it sort of
Prioritized.
It's made into a box and
It's made in
into a game. It has a rule book and tiles and stuff like that. Then we started extending to the board games with something more abstract. Again, we are very much interested in the visual. So we questioned, what do you really see, kind of stuff. We looked into ink block art. We were lucky to have Sindhu's father's paintings, which became an inspiration for us to do this product. We wanted to explore storytelling. What happens if I just give you an abstract art? What do people talk about it? And I had lots of experiences, trying to ask people what do they really see in a visual. And we thought we could gamify it, right? And brought some sort of angle of gaming to that, where a lot of image interpretation and idea association happens. This is an old Rorschach painting test which is used. Any ink blot. Yeah, so what we tried is, this is a clinical test which Rorschach test happened after World War. They were used in US for a long time to test the personality of people and to even recruit into military, right? It was a sort of a clinical behavior. We kind of thought we can bring that into a social context and see what happens between people. It was like an experiment, right? And we created Bimba. Bimba means Pratibimba, reflection, what do you see? And it's kind of a game kit for visual storytelling. It has this. These are the kind of cards you can
very
see.
surreal kind of visuals.
All these visuals are ink blot arts.
Hand
hand done. We made them into card size, nicely, placed on the hand, and now you start interpreting them. There is a sort of a foolproof voting mechanism which will corner you to interpret and win. And those interpretations basically opens up your personality. Some pointing system, some cards is what it contains.
So it's been an effort to actually produce and make these games in a little bit of a non-existent manufacturing setup. So yes,
it's a challenge. We are exploring all the manufacturing infra, what requires the make in India बोल देते हैं, उसके बाद बहुत problems चालू होते हैं. So that's okay. Something which is fun. We also designed some products. This was a leg guard. It came called Moonwalker. He wanted to reduce the weight of a leg guard, so we used PP, a plastic composite material, reduced it from 900 grams to 300 grams, and it became lighter. And they were able to run between the wickets. The older ones were even 1.5. I think Tendulkar was wearing something like 1.5 kgs, right? So that also made his legs. It's a medical problem called bow legs. The bones basically, they bend because of weight of this. So we had to reduce it to make it lighter.
290 grams.
We were, at the end it was around 310 grams. Did all the required tests from ball hits to simulations. It is used in IPL once in a while. The cricket world is filled with lots of contracts for over the years. Somehow, a couple of them sneaked into some popular zones. Then we got interested in a school.
So this was a problem which came very unexpectedly, wherein because we are also architects and parents of the school, and then there were the school had approached a lot of architects, and they had a very short time frame of about 45 days, and they had a temporary location and they wanted something done in a very low budget. And they came to us saying that, okay, there are no architects ready to take it up. So you are also an architect, so how can you help us? And we said, yes, we are also product designers, and we do a problem solving.
We took a product design approach.
Problem solving approach. And
we said, okay, 45 days, it should be temporary. Let's take tents. It's low budget. We reduced the money to almost by 70-80%. And then we looked into the area, and because it's temporary, the base also should have been, we would remove the bases after 2-3 years, because this was used for 2 years.
So it was an alternative kind of school. So it was very important for us, because for that school, it was important that when they left that space, because it was temporary in a farm, the life had to get back.
So,
and how less can we reduce the debris, and how can we solve this problem?
Yeah, and things were majorly reused in this project. So we went all around Bangalore. Wherever there is waste material, we bought it. From their old school, we bought their old gates and windows and even the doors, and we put it inside these tents. So literally reducing stuff. But a program worked. Children were happy. They learned, and they were joyful. So
it was meant to be there for a year. They stayed there for about 2.5 to 3 years actually.
So we created play spaces using tires and tents. And
this was during the construction. It was a lot more lively. So a lot of landscape was done by the.
Yeah, it was completely participatory, and the room which you see behind was a pig style, and we made it into an office. So we just cleaned it up and said, okay, there were pigs are here, now we can use it as an office, and things like that. So
it was power cleaned.
And then we added some stuff, and the children were very free to use. They're now learning time and shadow with the clock, and they'll also do a lot of farming. So it also goes with the philosophy of the school and their program. So
all of this was a stage created with the the available thing. Yeah.
Yeah, now they got a little permanent place.
It's a 5-acre it's a
7-acre campus, and then we thought, okay, they again came back to us. The idea here was to build as less as possible. That's the hillock and down there, and we said, let's not do any landscape. We went and bought few trees from the government.
500 trees.
Around 500 trees we have just planted everywhere. Now we are watching how the ecosystem is building. It was absolutely, I think the whole of landscape was done in less than 4,000 rupees. And the kind of building here is, you're looking at it, you won't even believe the kind of costing.
The kind of zoning also we did based on a lot of permaculture principles. We actually never touched all the biodiverse spots that was already there, something that was already full of life.
Yeah.
Those were not touched, and
all this already had good life. If you see, where some already organic systems were working. So we had to take the spaces which were little bit not used and where the land was not very usable, and then we put some built form over there.
During construction and the final classroom. The kindergarten was a more organic kind of structure, so we actually built it up with
Mud bags. So we bought this one, filled mud and just made walls out of it. And we used tires, Yeah, it's in a little bit of curation. We love exhibition design, but we love the curation part of the exhibition. Again, it's really kind of inspired by what been taught in the college. Really, I really loved what Katie had done with VC students. When we entered the classroom, it all looked so beautiful. We thought we could always recreate it. Some things really stays in heart. So we worked with this artist again, and we were able to put it out this year we curated.
So for this we got...
This is Sindhu's father's painting exhibition.
So we got a few poets to write about it. And then also it was a detailed exploration or a presentation of all his work from 1940s to 40s to till date. And the kind of explorations that were done to understand how a form can be brought about using ink, and what fold creates what, and how much to add to get what. So this was a plaque. We had 8 plaques like this. So wherein everybody saw how it grew from a simple small black and white to color to large canvases.
Handmade timeline.
Handmade
we do all handmade timelines in the studio. Everything made by hand, print, and then put it onto the wall and see, and do all the visual judgments and see whether the heights work and whether everything making a story.
To an extent, we like to continue what we were doing in college.
Yeah, we were just doing whatever we liked in college. So we came to digital. Digital, we feel it's in very nascent stage. It is currently fragmented. It's momentary. It's intrusive, persuasive, not easily observable. It's in a wild territory, right? Because of its rapid spread, right? And now we know it's no more just an innocent-looking product experience. You might be using Facebook, Instagram, which looks cute initially, with nice, beautiful UI, UX, but it doesn't stop there, right? It goes beyond its product boundary into something really systemic. We were looking into, I think, the best way to really bring some sanity into the digital world, or the way it can be used and make kind of unifies to really work with global regulations, deeper cultural agreements between countries and between different communities, and to really humanize it in that sense. Because we've been doing UI, UX, each time we do it, we know that it is going beyond what can be kind of observed, and because these impacts are, people whoever came to exhibition, they had a kind of a pattern of experience which was discussable. In a sense, they could all sit in one place and discuss, even though it's a 2-hour walk inside visual things, but the same thing doesn't happen when it comes to any of the digital experiences nowadays. You take, from enterprise products to consumer products. I've been in consumer. It's so rapid and so connected that it's just very hard to see the outcomes and consequences. Right? So we learned it by doing some projects, some video apps to stitch story together. This was my own startup. We had a company called We Live. We invested in a video app where they could all stitch videos. This was a little earlier than Snapchat. Snapchat was like $785 in the App Store in US when we were $400 on the US App Store. So a long time back. Now, we built this technology where we could stitch some videos in the cloud, but it was very cluttered. I myself was not very happy in the way we had stickers, we had everything, a lot of editing, we had backgrounds, all of this done. Yeah, it was a lean startup. Yeah, sort of the 3x Yahoo where I was working. We all came out and did that.
So, Sindhu Kiran, just interrupting you. We have about 20 minutes.
Sure, we are almost done.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Couple of digital products. Few more on maps. We made fun of maps. Google was giving very, very precise, data, and I was a little overwhelmed by its intrusions and privacy. So we reacted by telling, "Can I show where the duck is, where the cats are, where the fightings are happening?" People would stuff like that.
Basically, trying to gather very focused content.
What happens when we put humor on? It gives a very different view of the world. Few more on. We did the product for Let's Venture. It's a early stage funding for connecting investors and startups. Yeah, we kind of made it easy for investors to quickly invest. So they would open their app and they saw somebody investing very well into a startup. They saw how this funding was happening, and they were able to raise 2.5 crores and just an app which was unheard of earlier. These are the kind of, I know
7 years back.
7 years back, but now it's a lot more. So and that's it. That's all we wanted to share. We feel that design can be done optimally. I think with a lot of scopes to observe more, strengthen some genuine connections, waste less, stay inspired. I think it's something we all know. We continue to seek refuge in beauty. I think it's very important because that's a metaphor where we kind of believe will kind of help us harmonize stories that uplift and causes that really matter. So that's all we have from our site. Please do visit our sites and you can buy some products.
Thanks, Sindhu Kiran. Thanks for the talk. The floor is open for questions, guys. So I have a question while we're waiting for more. So the question is, and you talked about it, but didn't get a sense. How do you produce your games? That is one, and how do you market them?
Okay, so the way we started, we just put up a website, right, and then saw the pull. Okay, we just started with our inner circle to start with, and then we should have a good product. That's first thing. To make a board game, it's quite a journey. So we were collecting a lot of board games we were traveling Europe and stuff like that. Then we saw how the movement was spreading in Europe and US. And then we saw that in India, we are only playing Ludo and card games, a couple of them. And then we figured out there is a market for Indian stories. And then the puzzles were a testimonial for that kind of content when people started buying. So there was a pull already. So all we had to do was, okay, now can I bring in games, which are a little complex, the rules, and people might not spend more time. Puzzles are easier to just build, right? But games, what kinds of games and what kinds of stories this game should really have. So we did that. Whom do we reach out to? So we started with some inner circle, some small WhatsApp stuff, and then we put up the site, and then we started. Nowadays, the payment is done so easy.
Actually, when we did Puzzle Desh in 2014, there was a lot of issues of the connected things. Marketing it was very difficult because we had to go to physical places and try to show the product, and we had stopped being designers and we were trying to go there, and that was not something that we were enjoying because a lot of cuts, some people asking up to almost an 80% margin and that kind of stuff. So all that was not happening, and we had stopped it. But then now that we see, we are very well connected in terms of the financial. I think we have Razorpays, we have all of these things, which makes it easier for us. And then all the shipping and everything was very easy. So directly getting into the D2C market.
So D2C is a good pull if you are pouring content and if you are able to connect the right networks, which is easy to do sitting from home. D2C starts making the first pull, right?
Yeah.
So we cannot stop at D2C. Then we move to D2C to B, right?
Yeah.
So which is sort of working.
And a lot of learning on how to price a product. And initially we had started the puzzles at about 500 and 800, and then with that kind of margins for businesses and this thing and all that, it's been a learning experience, especially with the production and stuff. The kind of finishes we want, and nothing is streamlined here.
So it's easier to test.
Yeah.
So control is with you. Earlier, when we, in India, we used to give goods and we would wait for the money to come in, right? Now you don't have to do it. It's D2C is faster money into your bank.
So you have cash inflow, and then you can actually sustain yourself, which was not happening earlier.
Great time for designers to do D2C. Make some beautiful products in garage and start selling it, right? And I think it's a really great time for product designers. If you have a couple of your printing 3D printers and stuff like that, and you do something, work with your stuff and start selling.
Yeah, but marketing is still a beast. We have to crack. We have to crack quite a bit of it, but then we are okay. I mean, we are.
So we planned for 5 years.
Yeah.
So it cannot happen with 1 or 2 products. It should be a long haul. Have some 20 products in market.
And they have to evolve. They have to all evolve too, because it should reach people. We get feedback. We rework. It just gets better and better, because all these games have not just they have evolved over time.
And it's new.
You need to give that to bring out the product.
It's a lot more easier to observe market these days.
Yeah.
And getting feedback from customers and reaching out. So we're just trying that. We're not doing a great job of marketing, but still.
Yeah, we're constantly trying that and trying to learn. Yeah.
Okay.
Taking small steps.
Okay. No, I got it. Thank you. Who else has a question?
Hi, Kiran. I had a question. Hi, Anand. This is more on something that you said about rapid inclusion. One of your slides that says how things are getting more inclusive and all that stuff. This is a bit tangential of a question of the sort. Haptics. How do you, when you designers actually envision certain things, how do you like haptics, digital haptics, right? How do you kind of pay attention to that? Are you taking that into consideration as well when you do your designs, or how does that work? Or I just wanted to know your views on haptics and design.
Interesting. So when you define haptics, how do you see it? Is it like things you put it on your fingers and body and then see what happens? Is it that you're looking at, or is it more about the product surfaces and the material and the texture without any interventions into the body? Because
physical products are much more easier, right? Like if you go to if you enter a Fab India, it's a lot more easier. You touch the articles and then you see it. But when it comes to design, do you actually guys pay that into attention, or like renderings or those kind of things? I just wanted to know your views on that.
See, our only physical products we've been working are very. The problem comes where we have to sell them. They can't feel it, and they have to buy by looking into photographs, right? I'm hoping that something nice will come, so that because if they touch my board game tiles, they will definitely buy it, which is very difficult to show in a Amazon photograph, even though you take a major photo of it with some texture, right? People are guessing when they're buying, right? So I want to have a proper use case for haptics, which works for me, right? I would like to see where would haptics really work, with least amount of investment, right? I mean, is it right now the only haptic is the eye haptic? In a sense, the eye is the only thing where people are taking decisions on, right? Once they come to our studio and pick up the products, it's a completely different experience. They see the texture, they see the surface, they see the cards, they can feel the whole product and stuff like that. But we have not tried any technology as such to propagate or to even experiment with haptic, because it comes with its own setup, right? And current haptic setups are extremely rudimentary. They're very raw, right? Whether you use gaming consoles or whether you use hand consoles, these are nice stuff which are very good things to experiment in colleges and academia, but not in a small studio.
Yeah.
I mean, until and unless I really need it.
Thank you. That explains. Thank you so much.
Hi, I have a question. I was more about content creation. I think if you look at, when I know you've been following you guys and know you for a few years now. But in terms of content creation, like you generally take up things which are close to your project, to your heart, right? Whether it's Bimba or maybe the puzzle, the Ishka things, things which you guys relate to. And but now I think since your portfolio is also kind of diversifying with more things, you guys take an insight from let's say potential customers and then cater something to that, or else you still take what is closer to your heart and then what content you have and then you kind of develop that and take it on. How do you guys work on that aspect?
No answer. So it's usually a combination of both, right?
Yeah.
First thing is that you should be fully inspired with the content, right? Once you are inspired, you socialize to see whether that content really resonates. So I do a quick cold call with few people to say whether this story is interesting. But it's so important to bring out nice stories out, right? Whether in the form of book or poetry or a game, it doesn't matter. So when we looked into Bimba or when we looked into Humpy, Humpy had enormous amount of stories, right? And we wanted to bring out the story of Shamantakamani, the Sun Jewel and all of it when you play. And there was a possibility. So we kind of did cold call. We asked a lot of people, we did a lot of research. We spoke to Mamta Rao from NID, Vastare, lots of people and who have done a lot of work in it. And then we also spoke to normal people, like buyers at the end of the day, they are the buying, right? Then Humpy is popular. So Bimba is not that popular. Humpy, everybody knows what it is. And it becomes easy for them to relate. So we try to take, chances there, if you see, whether, some sort of a content resonates with anybody. For us, it's very important that it resonates, because only when it resonates, there is a start of conversation, right?
Yeah. And also what happens is that, okay, you start off with an idea, you put it there, okay, and then you work with people, get the feedback, and, then there are ways to grow it, that's how things will grow, okay? You put an idea forth, then you get, it's like a back and forth thing. So it's both together.
But currently we are dying for local stories.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't believe Prashant. I keep asking. I need somebody who can write script like the movies, right? So we want to work with people who really can feel the story, because we can gamify it. Like you can see now in Netflix has brilliant content coming out. I mean, you guys are watching all kinds of movies, right? Some very nice stories are coming out. So local story going global is very normal. I think that's what is the way to go. But how does it resonate with larger audience, with people? Because it's very regional, very local, because it's Kannada and things like that, right? So we are looking forward to work with anybody who has good stories.
So Kiran, Sindhu, I think we'll soon have a storyteller on this forum. So look out for the space.
Awesome.
So one question that I had earlier and wasn't really answered is, how do you produce the games?
Okay, so we have manufacturer in Magadi Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we actually, he's a local
printer. So he never did board games first.
Yeah.
And now we are setting, there are a couple of other publishers also working with him. So now he is expanding and now infrastructure is being made, whether to get a meeple or a small wooden block. We also work with Murli Studio to get wooden blocks, design circle, two for our Humpy. And Murli has always been, he's like a backup. He has this whole setup there which I can always go back and rely on. And I really want help. In a sense, this is all self-publishing, right? And it's a new fun to do that. Everybody can do great self-publishing. And if anybody can help us with game designs, ideas, and now we have a setup in a sense and stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've figured out how to dig in all those things that is possible in a print setup, and and from where we can get the parts that we require for the game. So over the past 1 year, we started off in January, February. Now we do have a decent network of how, where, what to get done, what kind of finishes, what works, what doesn't work in print, what happens with a game and everything.
India really had a good tradition of great printing, infra, but not a board gaming making infra.
Yeah.
So we have to convert this printing, whatever is good in printing, to some sort of productizing. That takes some time. 2-3 years, they will be able to learn very fast. These are good entrepreneurs, and we'll be able to figure that out. But we won't still be able to producing like China scale, right?
Yeah.
So if suddenly, Hamleys or some big guys come and ask for a 20,000 SKUs, we are not there. We are just, I don't think, and nor we can ship it to US very quickly with say some 20,000 SKUs. So it's still a small setup.
Yeah, it's still a small setup.
We want to sort of build the storyline of the brand with the current infra we have.
So I think that gives me an idea. Maybe we should do a small case study on producing games. Your own experience of producing games with information of where to go, what to do, what's the cost of it. I think it will be a great resource for everyone here.
Yeah.
So maybe I can collaborate with you. I can interview you, and then we can produce something.
We're all there. Yeah,
absolutely. We just took this zone because it was accessible, right? And if we get a little more access to a couple more industries, some nice combinations can come. And we figured out the running cost of it, and in a certain scale, it's easy to do. So not something which is difficult at all. I mean, any designer coming out of college can do this now with the kind of systems. I think I'm seeing you will be seeing a lot of beautiful products coming out, because it's no more large corp, it's individual publishers, well under their control, easily manageable with very less investments, not really huge investments. Like I don't have to put up a factory, everything is outsourced. And in fact, I don't even store anything for a couple of SKUs. We can so everything is lightweight. So now the zone of this lightweight production is quite exciting.
So I think this can make for a good case study and good information for everyone else. So great, good to know. So we have about 5 minutes, so maybe we can take another 1 or 2 questions. Okay, if we have no more questions, we can bring this to a close. So thank you, Sindhu, Kiran, for doing this. Thank you everyone else for being here, and we look forward to connecting back again next week. Till then, thank you.
Thanks, Namesh.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.